Good morning, student. Trust you are enjoying your break. I believe you have seen the previous videos on logical reasoning 1 and 2 and other videos. This morning we are going to be looking at trigonometry, a very important topic in mathematics. But I'm going to be teaching you how to find the missing sides of a triangle using Pythagoras theorems that we normally group into SOHCAHTOA with the sine, tan, and cos. That is what we are going to be looking at. By the end of this class, I'm expecting you guys to be able to apply SOHCAHTOA to any given question. And number two, I'm expecting you guys to be able to find the missing sides of an angled triangle. Yes, that is my view by the end of this class. Okay, let's move on. Now, what are the steps that we use to solve questions whenever we are given a question that has to do with trigonometry angles? So let's see this one. We want to find the missing sides. We want to find the angle or probably angles. Let's see this. Step 1. Step 1 says label the triangle sides. Identify the opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse of the right angled triangles. That's step 1. Step 2 says choose your ratio. Use SOHCAHTOA to help you decide which ratio to use. That's step 2. Step 3. Calculate your answer. Said use calculator to check your angle after applying SOHCAHTOA. Then the last one say applying the formula. Substitute the side lengths into the correct formula triangle. So let's take the steps one after the other. The first one that says label the triangles. Label the triangles. If you are given triangles to solve, label each and every one of them. Now, under these steps, say identify the opposite, the adjacent, and the hypotenuse of the right angle triangle. Now, how do we do this? A right angle is made up of three sides. Now, you have your angle at one side. You know it is a complementary angle. Complementary angle simply means when you have three sides of a triangle and one side is 90 degrees. When you add the remaining two sides together, you have 90 degrees. For example, you have a right angle triangle. The other two sides, which are not 90 degrees, when you add them together, they must give you what? 90 degrees. That is what we call a complementary angle. Now, how do we identify the hypotenuse, the opposite, and adjacent from the right angle triangle? Now, when you look at a right angle triangle very well, the longest side is always the hypotenuse. The longest side is always the hypotenuse. 1. Anywhere the angle is facing is your opposite. Anywhere the angle is facing is your opposite. And the other side will be the adjacent. The other side will be the adjacent. I repeat again, the longest side is the hypotenuse. Anywhere the angle is facing is the opposite, and the third side is the adjacent. That is how to label the triangle side. Okay. Step 2 says choosing the trigonometry ratio. Choosing the trigonometry ratio. Now here, it said the ratio to use sine, cos, tan. You are to decide this. Now, how do we decide that? If you have a right angle triangle and the value of opposite is given, the value of hypotenuse is unknown, and the angle is also given. The first thing you are going to do is that the side given, you write it down. Looking at this example I have here, the opposite is given to be 15 centimeter. The hypotenuse, which is the longest side, is unknown. So the opposite, you write O. For the hypotenuse, you write H. That is O and H. Then you go to your SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA, you can see it here. Now, you go and check. The S represents sine, C represents cos, while T represents tan. Now, if you look at this very well, you look at the one that is having O and H, and the one that is having O and H from this is so. That shows you are going to use sine. So you are going to say sine of angle equals to opposite over hypotenuse. Sine of angle equals to opposite over hypotenuse. That's the step 2. Now, moving to the next step. The next step says applying the formula. Applying the formula. Substitute the side lengths into the correct formula. Now, after you have your sine to be opposite over hypotenuse. Now, what is the value of your opposite? Is 15 centimeter. Put it. Now, the value of your hypotenuse is unknown. That is the side we are looking for. And the sine of the angle is 35 degrees. You can see from here. So we are going to have sine of the angle, sine 35 degrees, equals to 15 over the hypotenuse. Now, when you cross multiply, you are going to have your hypotenuse to be opposite then over the sine of the angle. That is H equals to 15 over sine 35 degrees. Now, the last step here says calculate your answer. Calculate your answer. After you have expressed it in this form, now the next thing to do is to press your calculator. How do we do that? You have 15 degrees as your opposite, that is as your numerator, and the denominator is sine 35 degrees. Just go straight to your calculator, press sine, then press 35 degrees. You will have the value for 35 degrees. Or you can go to your four-figure tables, go and check the sine of 35 degrees, write it out. Then after that, divide your answer. So it's very simple. You have gotten the value of your hypotenuse. Now, if you are looking for adjacent, let's assume that you are given a question that you are looking for the adjacent. Now, and you are given the opposite, you are not given the adjacent. Just write it down that opposite is given, opposite is O, adjacent is A, and the angle is given. Just go to your SOHCAHTOA, go and check the one that is having opposite and adjacent. You will discover that it is tan. So from here, you can just say that tan of angle equals to opposite then over adjacent. Then the opposite is given, the adjacent is unknown, and the tan of angle is also known. So it's very easy for you to find your adjacent. Now, let's see a scenario whereby you are to find the opposite, and one of the adjacent or the hypotenuse is given and the angle is given. You can use any of the two. If you are given the hypotenuse, you can use it to get your opposite. If you are given the adjacent, you can use it to get your opposite, depending on the one you are choosing. Now, let's assume that I want to find opposite and I want to use adjacent to find the opposite while the angle is known. So what you are going to say is that you are going to say that sine the angle, you are going to say opposite over adjacent. You go and look for the one that is having O and A, and that is tan. So you are going to express your own in form of tan the angle equals to opposite, you can represent it with x, then over the value given, which is the adjacent. And if you are using the hypotenuse to get your opposite too, write it down. Opposite is the one you are looking for, then hypotenuse is the one given. So go and look for the one that is having O and H. Then if you go into that, you will discover that it is sine that is having O and H. So that O and H, you are going to say sine of angle equals to opposite over hypotenuse. Then you cross multiply. When you cross multiply, you get the value of your opposites. Now, I have an assignment for you. I want you to study this very well. From my explanation, you can see that I've explained all this. The question says, find the value of x. Give your answer to two decimal places. You can see now the usefulness of estimation and approximation. But every question you meet, they are going to be asking you either to express your answer in significant figure, in decimal places, or even in standard form. So you can see the usefulness of that. Now, this question says, find the value of s. Give your answer to two decimal places. So you are to express your answer in decimal places. You can see from the first triangle, the angle is given to be 32 degrees, and the side you are going to find is x. So you have to decide, you have to check which side is that x. Is it adjacent? Is it opposite? Is it hypotenuse? Please try to check that and solve that. Now, you look at another example, which is the second question rather. Now, the value of x here, you have to check the s that is unknown. Is it the opposite side? Is it the adjacent side or the hypotenuse side? That is the first thing you need to know under this. So please do well to do your assignment, then study the past videos, and by doing that, I believe you are going to come out with flying colors this time. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.